LeBron James set the record for the all-time scoring list, and big congratulations to him. But unfortunately, the Lakers ended up losing the game, in a game to the Thunder, a team that is ahead of us and we really cannot afford to lose to. We also lost to the Pelicans, so it's not a good start. But nonetheless, we need to get something done. We need some type of trade. And Rob Pelinka, from all the reports that we've heard, seems to be doing his due diligence and actively trying to find something. He's reiterated on numerous occasions that if he finds the right deal, he'll definitely get it done. Obviously, he traded for Rui Hachimura. That was a nice start, but that can't be the only move that we make, right? We need some solid shooting. We need some defense. We need a lot of things, right? We have these huge holes on this roster, and we really need to improve this team. And we are just getting further and further back from being in a position to make the play-in, let alone the playoffs, right? And don't get me wrong, I think with the right acquisitions, the right pieces, I really think that we can make a nice little run here to potentially get into the play-in, ideally be the playoffs. Still only like 4 games out of the 6th seed. If we can get into that 6th spot, then I really think we can make some noise come the playoff time, right? But beyond that, it's not even just about this season. It's about going forward. One of the big things that the Lakers have is just this constant turnaround with the roster. So there's no stability, there's no chemistry, there's no anything that you see with a lot of these teams that are in the upper echelons of the standings, right? And so for the Lakers to get a couple pieces, 2, 3, 4 guys that can come in, be starting level rotation guys, because that's the key, having starting level talent. We got a lot of really great guys, but none of them are starting level really, right? Outside of like LeBron, AD, Rui, I think you can make that argument. We don't really have anyone else. Russell Westbrook is a guy that could start, but without him on the bench, it kind of just ruins our bench depth. He is in many ways our entire bench, but also, if we use him to trade, then now we can get pieces that can fill out the starting lineup, and then a lot of the guys that are having some success in the starting lineup now get to go back to the bench, so our bench production gets better. Everything just kind of upgrades and falls into the natural order, so to speak, which would be great. Right? That's what we need. We need the depth. We need the size. We need all of those things. We have our starting front court pretty much locked up, right? LeBron, AD, Rui Hachimura. Unless we get something crazy. If we get like a Bojan Bogdanovic, then I imagine Rui would come off the bench, which I don't think would be the worst thing ever. But realistically, those 3 guys are very likely going to be our front court. So now we need to look at our starting backcourt, right? I think Dennis Schroeder is best off the bench. And to have 2 guys come in, a legit sort of shooting guard, guy with size, a 3-and-D style. Not saying he has to be 6'8" or any of that, but like, a 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" type of shooting guard with a good wingspan that can actually create his own shot. That would be huge. That's something the Lakers really need is a shot creator. Somebody that can, shoot off the bounce, score at all 3 levels. That's what we were hoping Kyrie Irving would be. But unfortunately, we're not going to land Kyrie Irving, at least this season. We'll see what happens in the offseason, but we can't wait around for that, right? Because he may or may not come. If he does come, then we'll figure it out then. But right now, do what you need to do what is necessary in order to get a deal done. Tomorrow at noontime, that's it. If we don't get something done between now and then we're in trouble. You could pretty much write off the season at that point. Maybe we make the playoffs, but even then it's like, okay, so we make the playoffs to just get smacked in the first or second round. Now look, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, you get those 2 healthy in the playoffs. Who knows? Maybe something crazy happens, but realistically, you're probably getting bounced in the first, second round. Last thing you want to do is get into like that 9th or 10th spot. Even if you do a trade, let's say you do some great trade and it's beautiful. Let's say you do a combination of like the Utah and you get like Gary Trent or something like that, right? And you got these 4 guys that come in and are just great. If you're the 9th or the 10th seed, you could be playing like the best team in the league from the time you do the trade to the end of the regular season into the playoffs. And you have to win 2 straight play-in games. You cannot lose one of them, or that's it. And all it takes, because it is single elimination, all it takes is one of those teams to just, you don't have to be the best team that night, or you don't have to be the best team in general. You only have to be the best team that night. So one of those teams, right, let's say it's the Pelicans, right? The Pelicans just shoot the lights out, or, the Thunder, like we just saw, if they shoot the lights out and hit 23s, I mean, it doesn't matter how good you are. You might beat them 9 out of 10 times, but they only have to beat you that one time that night. And that's it, you're done. Again, I still like the idea of a move, because what it does is it gives you, even if you don't make the playoffs, let's say worst case scenario, let's say we get Gary Trent, Beasley, Conley, and we get Vanderbilt, right? Because I think that seems to be the two deals that are most likely, and maybe you get some combination. Rob has even said he'd like to do multiple deals. So let's say that's best case scenario. You got Gary Trent, you got Beasley, Conley, and you got Vanderbilt. Beautiful. That makes us a very good team. I think that makes us a legit potential contender, but legit playoff team, because you just have a little bit of everything. Let's say we don't make the playoffs, right? Let's say it's a little too late. It's an uphill battle we're climbing. It takes a little while for guys to mesh, but there's promise, right? Well, now we have a full off season, a full training camp, a full preseason to get it all right, get it all together, and get ready and ramped up for this season. So regardless, we need to get something done. We don't have any cap space. I still get a lot of comments from people that are like, oh, well, you're better off why don't you just hold on to Russ, let it expire, and then use your cap space? We don't have any cap space anymore. Traded for Rui Hachimura. He has an $18 million cap hold. So that gives us like $12 million in cap space. Realistically, you're going to probably try to retain Reeves and stuff. Like, you don't have any cap space. You're not going to be able to round out a roster with like $12 million, right? And then, especially if they want Kyrie, then you got to let everyone go. And so it doesn't make any sense, right? So the thing is that if we can get, even if it is just the Raptors trade, I'm all for just getting the Raptors trade, because that gives you Gary Trent and Fred VanVleet, who those two can be your starting backcourt. And now you have your starting front court and backcourt. That's basically your starting five. You're straight. You're good, right? Like, you got, for the next foreseeable future, for the next several years, you got Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., Rui Hachimura, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Like, that's one of the best starting fives in the league. And then, you round out the bench. You have Dennis Schroeder, you have Austin Reeves, you have, I would like to see them take Patrick Beverley and Lonnie Walker, go do some other deal if they do this, whether it's a Josh Richardson or something, because at that point, you're pretty much all in, so you might as well go all in, right? But even if you do, you got Patrick Beverley, you got Lonnie Walker, you got Troy Brown, you got Winning Gabriel, you got Thomas Bryant, like, the list just goes on and on and on. So I'm hoping today is the day that a trade gets done, right? We've been anxiously waiting around for a trade. We just kept getting the bar pushed further and further ahead, and now we're at the point where it's like, we're here. That's it. We're 24 hours away from the trade deadline being done and over. We need to be one of those teams that make a deal. We need to be one of those teams that come out ahead and people are like, oh, whoa, is this the deal that puts us over the top? Is this the trade that makes the Lakers a contender again? Is this the trade that turns the season around, right? Especially our schedule coming up, this back half, we have a lot of very winnable games. I mean, we're playing a lot of like teams in general that just are very likely going to start heading downhill. We play teams like Utah. Like, if we do the Utah deal, we play Utah like several more times, right? They're going to be tanking. They're going to be like, you're going to have a lot of these teams that are going to make a decision. Okay, let's start selling stuff off, right? Play Toronto a couple times. They trade VanVleet and Gary Trent. Well, then, chances are they're probably not going to be as good as they were. So again, winnable games. We got to get something. We got to see something unfold. Whether it's Boyan, Alec Burke, and, Nerlens Noel. I think at this point, you got to trade Russ. You're not going to get the value that you want in the offseason from him. I don't think he's going to re-sign. Why would he? Why would he want to re-sign? And I don't think it makes a lot of sense for the Lakers to have him re-sign. It hasn't been seamless. It hasn't been great. It hasn't worked the way you wanted it to. Maybe you make the playoffs and Russ is great and kind of turns it around, and then, everything's just running smoothly and you're like, okay, like let's give it another chance. But based on what we've seen, it's more likely that it's just a disaster and we lose in the first round or we lose in the second round. And now it's just like, okay, well, now we're stuck, right? Like that's the last thing the Lakers need. It's the last thing the Lakers want. They need to get pieces, whether it's one trade, get you 2, 3, 4 guys, or it's multiple trades. We need about 2 starting level players at the bare minimum. If we can get, like, even if it's just like a Boyan and Alec Burke, I think that that's enough to make us a contender. Like, legit make us a contender. If it's, again, the Utah deal, I think that that puts us much better. You get, a great, solid, do everything defender. You get, a legit serviceable 3-and-D point guard. You get a 3-and-D shooting guard, like, and one that has like what some of the highest made threes in the league this year. Like all of those things I think would just be hugely beneficial. But time will tell. We'll see. Hopefully, at the time of you watching this video, maybe a deal's already gotten done. I'm posting this video rather early, and I'm hoping that, maybe even like right at the time, I post it, whenever. I don't care. Just get a deal done. That's all I want. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Do you want a deal? What kind of deal do you want? Is there one that specifically you'd love to see, you'd love to have the Lakers do? Do you think a deal gets done today? Do you think, no, they'll do it tomorrow for the final, countdown? It'll be a deal that just is at the final hour. Whatever your thoughts are, however you feel about it, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. So let me know down in the comments below.